Ahoy there, retro gaming handheld fans. Have you ever fantasized about taking your iPhone or your iPod Touch and turning it effectively into a Game Gear? That's right, this is a old-fashioned Sega Game Gear from maybe the 90s, the mid-90s. Well, yeah, you can do that thanks to the iCade Mobile, a $70 accessory that works with iOS devices like the iPhone and iPod Touch. You can see the ones inserted right here. And much like an old Game Gear, you've got a D-pad and buttons. You've even got shoulder buttons on the back. Now, I'm a big handheld gamer. I have all the handheld game systems, and I know one of the big beefs about handheld touchscreen devices like the iPhone is that there are no buttons. And there are a ton of great games. Hey, wouldn't you like to be able to play Street Fighter and use buttons? Well, not so fast. The iCade Mobile is an offshoot of the iCade arcade cabinet that came out last year, and if you use that, you know that only a certain number of games work with the iCade. It basically fools the iPhone into thinking that it's a keyboard and pairs with it that way. You enter a certain number of buttons to activate it, and then you're paired and set. And as a result, there's no analog control pad here, which is frustrating. And you can already tell that a lot of games like shooters wouldn't work on this. There are a number of fun retro games like Atari's Arcade Greatest Hits, Midway Arcade, and some indie titles that are retro-inspired, like Super Crate Box, that work really well with the iCade. Oh wait, no they don't. They don't work with the iCade Mobile yet, not all of them. In fact, Atari's Arcade Greatest Hits and Super Crate Box at this point don't, and I'm sure a lot of them will be updated to work with the iCade Mobile, but you have to basically look on Ian's website and see which of the games work and which don't, which is a hassle. The ones that do work really nicely. You can play Joust on this thing, and hey, the buttons respond really well. But the whole construction of this is big and bulky. 2 AA batteries go into the back. You actually have to unscrew a panel, which is a little frustrating. And it adds a lot of weight. This thing is not pocket-sized unless you've got king-size cargo pant pockets or enjoy carrying a holster pack with you. It's not as big as a Game Gear, but it's getting close. It kind of looks like an Atari Lynx. And if you're paying $70 for this on top of whatever games you're purchasing, that's a lot of dough. It doesn't include any games with the package. You know, what else can be said about this? It's not that pretty, and that's another downside, I think. This looks like a kind of a generic third-party gaming peripheral, and the buttons are a little rattly and loose feeling. They work, but they feel kind of like a little knockoff. And this whole rubber holster that keeps your iPhone or iPod Touch in, which can also rotate, keeps it in sturdily, but it pokes out a bit on the sides. It feels like a little weird when it gloms on here. You can't access your volume buttons or your top buttons up here, and it's just not that pretty. And it does come with a little rubber insert so you can put an iPod Touch in there, but it feels kind of like a hack. And at $70, you would expect something a little more elegant than a hack. The iCade Mobile would be awesome if it worked with a whole bunch of games. If you could download games on the App Store and you could play any game you wanted with these controls, well, that would be the fantasy. That's not allowed right now. Companies aren't finding it very easy to create a universal controller for the iPhone or iPod Touch. This is, I guess, the next best thing right now, although it would be nice to see analog pads, and it really adds up to a neither here nor there product that would be maybe a fun stocking stuffer for those who like retro games. But at $70, that's an expensive stocking stuffer, and we're not at the holidays yet. I'm Scott Stein, and that's a look at the iCade Mobile for the iPhone and iPod Touch.